Happy Friday, Sharb.
This day couldn't have come sooner. In one of those weeks.
Yeah, I know. And it was a beautiful day.
Gorgeous day. But I tell you, I am excited for this one. This is going to be an awesome show. Meet the Sailing Press. Because, without the boat shows this year here in Annapolis, this is something we really just kind of forgot about. But we get to meet and see people that we kind of see and talk to, sort of. But it's a chance for all of us to visit. Of course, we didn't get that opportunity this year.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks of the boat show as sort of like old home week, or they get to hang out with their sailing buddies and talk about sailing. But for those of us who are in the sailing press, there's some people we only see once a year, and we are so excited to see them. They often come by the SpinSheet booth at the end of the day and have a beverage with us, and we catch up. And so we missed that this year. So we decided to invite them here on Happy Hour so we could just shoot the breeze and talk a little bit about what's going on in their neck of the woods professionally and how much sailing they did this winter. And Sharp, I don't know if you noticed, but I got my sparkly earrings.
Oh, sparkles.
Yeah, it's Christmas time, and this is as close as I'm going to get to a Christmas party. So, I got the guys here tonight for Happy Hour, so I didn't want to disappoint. So I just wanted to point out that I got a little sparkle, and I'm having a cocktail over here.
And I'm having a cocktail too. And of course, thanks to Mount Gay for the sponsorship. I'm drinking the Mount Gay XO. Really just nice and neat.
Well, as the representative of the Chesapeake tonight, I'm drinking a little light and fluky, and that's just some Mount Gay with some ginger.
Oh, very nice.
Very refreshing summery treat. So cheers, everybody. Welcome to SpinSheet Happy Hour. We're psyched to have you here.
Yep.
Sharp, are you going to hang out? Or are you going to go over to the green room tonight?
Well, I'm going to jump in the green room because I won't fit on the screen. We have 3 guests tonight, so I'm going to bring them up and just kind of hang out and do my thing. But we'll see you at last call.
All right, thanks. We'll see you at last call.
All righty.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to SpinSheet Happy Hour. Hey there. We've got different representatives from other awesome sailing ports in the country. We're starting with Craig Lewick from San Diego and Sailing Scuttlebutt. Welcome, Craig. Oh, wait, I go this way. Cheers.
Thanks.
And then we have John Arndt down
me.
there. John is from San Francisco and Latitude 38 magazine and Summer Sailstice. Welcome, John. Cheers.
Good to see you, Molly. Cheers.
And then we have Dave Reed from Newport, Sailing World magazine. He's got some press passes with him.
I did all the work I've done in 2020. I thought we were going to talk about where we've been. Oh, wait,
where have you been? All right, that's awesome. Welcome, guys. What are you guys drinking over there? How about you, John? Let's start with you.
Well, I got out a bottle of Mount Gay. I got one of my many Mount Gay hats out, and I did a Mount Gay Mai Tai, which is delicious. A recipe I learned last Saturday night. And yeah, sort of a Pacific drink, Trader Vic's.
That sounds good. How about you, Dave? What are you drinking over there?
Not a Mai Tai. I wish I'd rather be drinking a Mai Tai, but no, we have the company fridge here that just seems to be always stocked with the Mount Gay and just various bits of ginger something. So it's I think we've got the high price Fever Tree. You find if somebody leaves their salad dressing in the fridge and you go for it. This was like the last remaining Fever Tree ginger beer, which is really lovely.
Yeah, I like Fever Tree.
So you kind of go and you pour like, they'll never miss it, It's the beauty of working in an office. You drink other people's ginger beer.
Now that you're working at home, it's a different story.
This is the home office, which is going to be relocating here pretty soon. So yeah, we're sort of drinking everything that's left in the fridge.
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
How about you, Craig? What are you drinking over there in San Diego today?
Maybe Dave can help me on this. It was a Key West race week lots of years ago, and they've always poured Mount Gay down at Key West, but this year they were pouring ginger beer, and I never had ginger beer before.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, maybe 7 years ago, but it was it was another reason why you go to Key West Race Week to discover the best mixer, and ever since it's been very enlightening. So here we are, Mount Gay and ginger beer. Yeah. I don't know I don't know what goes better with Mount Gay than ginger beer.
Yeah, it is. It actually, I like a rum punch, but I have to say ginger beer, there's always some in my fridge. So what we aim to do is clink toward the center. If any of you can figure out which way is center, it takes a minute.
So I think also
Anyway, cheers.
Pat her head and rub her belly too. Is that?
Well, and thank you on behalf of John Arndt and myself. Thank you for allowing us to start our happy hour a few hours early this today.
Yeah, well, like I said on email, like we hope to just give a little early buzz to our friends in California.
Yeah,
this will help me for the bike ride home. It's all good.
Yeah, that's right. So, Dave, you're the only one who has been on the SpinSheet Happy Hour before. You were here when we had the nude regatta in Annapolis, weirdly in August, which was a very successful, turned out a very successful, but local regatta instead of a whole East Coast regatta. And people really raved about it. So thank you guys for hosting that regatta. It was really something else. But I'm so glad to have you other guys on SpinSheet Happy Hour. And I was thinking, if we were sitting on the wall at Boat Show, I'm pretty sure one of the first things that we would talk about after giving each other a big hug instead of a virtual one would be our friend Jeff Ewenson. So for anyone who, I find it hard to believe that anyone might be watching who didn't know Jeff, but there might be some people who didn't know Jeff. Jeff was a SpinSheet family member that we lost at the age of 50 in the middle of October, and we've been devastated by it. It's been really hard. And so it's kind of nice to say a few words about him. I wanted to give you guys a chance to maybe tell a little Jeff story or tell our audience something you'll remember about Jeff. And I figure let's just go clockwise here. Craig Lewick, if you want to start.
Well, I think I'm a little late to the Jeff party. In my position at Scuttlebutt, I know of a lot of people, but I don't always meet them right away. And I've known of Jeff for, as long as he has been racing boats. But I've only got to know him recently and was super fortunate to had been able to stay with him and Mary last year at the boat show. And so, but it seems like at the boat shows, I would always go out to dinner with Mary and Jeff, and watching their dynamic was always super interesting. But in Scuttlebutt, we do a lot of these 8 Bells tributes, and it's I always feel honored to be able to share those messages, but I'm not sure if I can recall one that really hit people as hard as Jeff's, because of all the different planets he participated in, certainly his age, and so he was just so fresh in everyone's memory, and I think it really hit everyone hard and raw, and continues to do so. But I feel fortunate to finally have gotten on the Jeff boat, and we'll ride that memory.
Thank you. How about you, Dave? Want to say a few words about Jeff?
Yeah, because few, because it's crazy because I think I'm actually of his age, and I think Craig pointed to, like, sometimes like we elderly people pass, they have great lives, but like it hits like especially hard when they're only halfway through the program. And so I actually grew up sailing here in NBYA, or Narragansett Bay Yachting, 420 regatta sailing again, and his cohort at the time, Josh Adams, and they were definitely the guys that they were.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
We just lost. We'll get him back.
We'll get him back. All right, John. We're going to skip to you, and we'll let Dave continue what he's saying when we get him back on screen.
Yeah, well, I've been really fortunate to know Jeff for a long time, as long as Mary's known him, because I've been staying with Jeff and Mary at their house for the Annapolis Boat Show for 25 years. And my gosh, this has hit really hard. I've been, all right, I'm going to not weep on the camera, but it really, Jeff was always bounding in with tons of energy. Jeff and Mary were an incredible team. And for me, it was always a great pleasure to arrive in Annapolis and see both of them. And Jeff, campaigning in fins, playing early morning hockey before the boat show. I mean, such a robust, energetic, strong, hearty guy that was always there for Mary, always there for everybody, always there for SpinSheet. If you needed something, Jeff was just one of those rocks that, you didn't need to worry about. You counted on him. He showed up. He was always positive, smiling, and it's just really painful. And I know I knew him just that way, and I know he had a big circle far beyond the time I got to spend with him, which was always great. So,
well, thank you guys, and thanks for sharing your memories. Before I'm sure Dave will come back at some point. We're just going to keep rolling though, because sometimes it takes a minute. So, but for anyone who might be watching, who is one of those Chesapeake sailors that spin sheet with their reading, I'm just going to ask you guys to tell us a little bit about your publications and who your audience is and how long you've been around and kind of what your goals are for a sailing publication. And I'm going to start with you, Craig.
Well, Scuttlebutt started as an accident, and it's kind of wild to think that the internet was brand new back in 1997, but it was, and it began small and just between friends, but it also hit on a note that, back then information relied on, print publication and the time lag, and this internet allowed for more real-time sharing. And so Scuttlebutt just slowly evolved over the years to what it is now, which is North American focused, daily email newsletter. Now it's got a fancy website where information is constantly getting posted. And it's endured during that time. We always feel super lucky that we started back when, because it's allowed us to get as established as we are and providing this kind of service all these years later. And apologies. Did I fall out?
No, you're still here.
Okay. And apologies for my background, because I literally just moved last month, and it seems like every area of the house has gotten my attention except for what is behind me. So
it's okay. It's like authentic water cooler talk.
That's back there. Yes, exactly. And that bottle of Mount Gay is always right there. I promise.
So for anyone watching who thinks that SpinSheet happens to be the first free awesome sailing publication, meet John Arndt from Latitude 38. And SpinSheet was modeled after Latitude 38. So John, why don't you tell us a little bit about your publication, how long it's been around, what you do there, and who your audience is?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Latitude 38 is on Latitude 38 on the planet, and so is SpinSheet, by the way. And we're both in the middle of coastal bays. We're on San Francisco Bay, and Latitude 38 got started 1977, which was the year that Merlin was launched, kind of the Santa Cruz ULDB, and they went on to win the Transpac and set a record that year. And then Costa Mesa was spitting out millions of boats, Columbias, Cals, Islanders, and all kinds of boats. And so it was a really fortuitous time to start a magazine, and Sailing World was rocking. And Richard Spindler, the founder, had a really unique and great talent at leading people and writing, very creative writer. And he really, and his wife, created a great business that he ran for 40 years. And I started in 1987 as an ad sales guy, thinking I'd work at Latitude 38 for 3-4 years maybe, and then move on to the next adventure. And somehow, 30 something years later, I'm still at Latitude 38, and Richard retired, and I took over the magazine. And so, and of course, was looking forward to a pandemic. It's always good to have new challenges in your publishing career. The magazine did also, not long after Scuttlebutt, we started a website, and being in Silicon Valley area, have had a website, email newsletters, and continuing like SpinSheet here, which I applaud you for coming up with your Facebook happy hour here, because all these media channels now are interesting and add to the experience, but they also add to the things that we all tend to and view and watch to try and keep up with sailing. But for Latitude 38, our circulation is started in San Francisco, but we really cover, as we say, the world of sailing through the eyes of the West Coast sailor. And so we cover California, Mexico, but if there's a Californian in the Tasman Sea or crossing the Indian Ocean, we'll follow them there. And so that's sort of our world of sailing. But California is kind of our prime audience.
Cool. Well, Dave, welcome back. We shifted gears just because you weren't on, but you weren't done saying what you wanted to say. You were going to say something about Jeff Ewenson, and you knew Josh and sailing as a kid together.
Yeah, so we'll be real quick. So I basically grew up racing against him. So I've always he was just one of those local Newport, small island, and I loved the guy. Like we were great friends, and it was definitely it's shocking. It hit right at the heart, and I still think about it all the time. But the amazing thing was today, as we're cleaning out this office today, we're throwing stuff away and just there's piles of shit everywhere. So today I literally found this, which I'm going to give to Nick, which is this. Speaking of boat shows, remember you got the big backdrop. So this was, I kid you not, 5 minutes before the show. So this was the big cover that we had.
Oh, that was an epic cover.
The big vinyl. So it was
I know that guy.
Yeah, the 50th anniversary, and there he is out on the wire. And I was like, so I found it 5 minutes before this thing, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I can't wait to give it to Nick next time I see him down here. So yeah, it's basically my Jeff story, but no, I miss him every day. And I'm also pretty psyched to see Brandon Flack, who works for Atlantic Marketing, who is very, very close to them, obviously, and to be inspired by Jeff's kind of just joy of life. And Brandon is kind of, as most of us I think know, is checked out and went sailing and said, screw it, life's too short. And so, I guess that's the legacy of Jeff.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
So the other guys here told us, I'm pretty sure that the people watching might be familiar with Sailing World, but just in case we have anyone who's new to sailing or who's just only reads SpinSheet, why don't you tell us a little bit about Sailing World and what your role is there and what your sort of your main focus is as a publication?
Yeah, so real quickly, I want to thank John and Craig, John, Craig, and SpinSheet, because we read you guys as you're kind of like the intel from the local group that's hard from up here to kind of keep tabs of what's going on. So it's every time Latitude shows up here, it's so awesome to just kind of flip through and feel like I'm a local. I can read it and I know what's going on, or feel like I can understand, and it's just awesome. But so Sailing World, ironically, last night we shipped to the printer our All America's Cup issue. We didn't went all in, and it's I will admit it's awesome. We went for the top shelf writers and really went in deep, and hopefully Regis will get it soon enough. But that was pointed out to me by our managing editor as our volume 60 of Sailing World. And what that means is basically, we started in 1962, which has been around for obviously a lot longer than I have, and they're all here on the shelves. It's quite amazing. And it's been one of our best traffic drivers, believe it or not, is to just go pull some of these issues from the 60s and 70s, scan some of the we call from the experts today, but just knowledge articles, and people still love them, because it's good knowledge stuff. Just we all want to get better at what we do. But so yeah, we started in 1962. I've been here since 1993. Started as a journalism intern and grew up racing 24s with. I'm
not sure I knew that.
yeah, I was an intern. There was times we were owned by the New York Times, and I got paid, and then I never left. So I've been here, I think, I do the math. The math is not my thing. 26 years or so. And so, yeah, I'm kind of the last standing editor, and we've got print magazines, Facebook, social media. We try to do it all. But so we're currently printing about 25,000 that go to paid subscribers, and I don't know, Facebook's about 203,000, I think. And we're just sort of in terms and numbers that we're sort of right behind the American Sailing Association. And then we've just been kind of just spending most of our COVID time feeding the Instagram page, which I think we eclipsed. I think we're up to about 102, which is a nice target to be at. Wow. Yeah, so we're busy here, man. We're trying to feed all the beasts, and the website too. Can't neglect that.
So, Sharp, I'm not sure if you're hearing Dave well. I'm not hearing him very well. So if you feel like you're not hearing him well, maybe we could do a phone connection with Dave. I'm barely hearing you. I heard you just enough, Dave, that I can say I understood. But
yeah, I'm on a phone connection because for some reason we have internet issues here.
I can hear him just fine.
You might have to kick me off.
Okay, it might just be me then. So anyway, if I ask you to repeat, you'll know why.
Well, we're getting old, Molly.
Yeah, I know. So let's talk a little bit about 2020. It's been quite a year. So okay, we'll start with you, Craig. Why don't you talk about some of your biggest challenges this year as a business owner?
Well, there was a lot of cycles for, I'm sure, all of us. There was fear in the beginning of the year, certainly, fear around us, but for publications reporting on the sport, for a sport that's not happening, you start worrying about what's going to happen, what's going to be coming down the road. And then the content wasn't so much a problem, but the content seemed like it had this reoccurring theme, which was about the pandemic. So the fatigue set in, and it just got, we all want to enjoy going to work every day, and it got harder because the topic was hard to escape. And so I found myself trying to escape it everywhere else, not watching the news, not trying to pound it into my body elsewhere. But, it proved to be hard to escape. It proved to be something that we didn't know how long we'd need to live with. And we've clearly been living with it for a while. We got shut down as a sport pretty hard here in San Diego. And so got an appreciation of what the sport really meant to me for sure. Not that it wasn't already important, but you start to recognize, what it gives you when you don't have it. Yeah. And so that was, refreshing to when we did get a chance to get out on the boat, to do that, to get away. And it also gave, I think I've heard this from other people, it gave all our boats this unbelievable opportunity to get fixed up. So that was good too. The varnishes never looked better. The hulls never waxed more. The sails look good. The lines are replaced. I mean, when sailing finally did occur, we were ready.
That's great.
It's being kind of that conduit for a lot of people. There was this extra responsibility because people wanted to stay. Everyone wanted this thing. They didn't want their thing to go away. And so as a publication, we're all trying to come up with ways to provide it.
Yeah. How about you, Dave? I'm sure you had some of the same challenges that Craig had. Can you think of anything that any challenges that you had over at Sailing World that he didn't quite bring up?
Yeah, it was kind of all the same. But we a little bit internally here. We have the Neuter Goddess, which we were, shifting week by week, trying to figure out, how much can we push them along? And it's just, oh wow. I mean, like the new team, I feel like, I think we talked about this in the last call, is that they were sort of in charge of an event that was just continuously being moved. The goalposts kept changing, and they had a hard time. But obviously, they pulled off Annapolis, and we pulled off St. Pete before it all went down. Then Annapolis was the end of the road. So, but we're already looking like even into next year that we're going to have to shift, St. Pete to later in the year, probably April is my guess. So we're it's not over yet, but. There was some it was good for us in a lot of ways because I think everybody kind of was struggling to try to keep people engaged, and it's the benefit of being here for so many years that we just opened up the file drawers of these slides and DVDs of 60 years of sailing. We just started scanning photos and putting them out there and feeding, just trying to keep people engaged. But I think like most people, kind of give you a chance to kind of check back, work on your boats, but also look back and find out what you appreciate and share a little bit differently. But we did that. Then we started around the Sailing World Zoom thing with Gary Jobson, Ed Baird, and Jonathan McKee, and the regular writing contributors. And they've been outstanding. They've showed up every Monday, and we just kind of shoot the shit for 40 minutes and put it up there. And
hope people enjoy it. But it's been fun. We've had to recreate ourselves a little bit, but the magazine cycle has not stopped, so it's been the kind of the same as well.
Yeah, everyone still wanted to talk about sailing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, at least I understand we're
wait, let's stop and admire your dog. Oh, stop it.
He's ferocious.
He's very vicious. I can see that. So how about you, John? What were some of your challenges this year?
Similar. We were, was trying to write a story that didn't have the words COVID, pandemic, stormy seas, uncharted waters, or canceled. Like all those words seem to want to come into a lot of stories. And so we're trying to find fun things to do. This all started in California. May 5th, we had a kickoff party for the Pacific Puddle Jump to send all the cruisers from Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, off to Tahiti in the South Pacific. And they closed the South Pacific. And I was like, what? So many things were impediments. And then, of course, March, April for business people, we're all kind of deer in the headlights going, what are we going to sail off into a black hole over the edge of the earth, or are we going to come through this thing? And things settled out. And I think the great thing is, of course, at least for sailing, there's been a huge silver lining in the sense that, boats have been selling like crazy. People have not been playing soccer or lacrosse and so many team sports, and families have been doing things together and in a remote way. And sailing's been a great place to do it. And so we've connected to our readers, and stories that we've been doing have changed, just like Dave is saying too. I read a gripping story of Dave's race. I think he was racing in turnabouts and got, aced out in some, but sailing around in a little 12-foot turnabout, or all the kinds of sailing people are doing, are really, really fun. And it's different that the Grand Prix racing hasn't been happening. And I know that's been a little harder for maybe Craig and Dave, because that's a primary thing they cover. But then again, as you say, Dave, all these old stories in simpler times and boats that were maybe simpler to sail or simpler era, there's so many things that we can reflect on with such a deep history. And I think people reconnecting to it as families, sailors, simple boats, it's been a silver lining. And of course, everybody, I talked to a yacht broker yesterday who's killing it, selling lots of boats. And everybody who does feel fortunate in this economy is also very cognizant of the people who are in a corner of the economy that hasn't been so fortunate. So there's been a lot of great connections that have been made despite the tumult and the friction. And I think also getting outdoors in nature, that's one of the great places to rest your brain, enjoy and reconnect with each other and the planet. And sailing is a great gateway to do that. And so I think, there's been a lot of great things for sailing coming out of it, and that brings stories for us to tell.
Yeah, amen. So Dave, you brought up having talks with contributors and your writers and stuff like that. I just wanted to ask all of you guys something you did that was brand new because of this. We started the SpinSheet Happy Hour on a whim to keep people engaged during the stay-at-home order in the spring. We didn't know it was going to become regular programming. It completely happened by accident. And I just wonder if you started anything that kind of surprised you this year. And I'll start with you, Craig. We'll just go clockwise.
Well, it was almost out of coincidence that I was asked earlier this year during the winter to make a presentation to New York Yacht Club about the future of the sport. And the way I approached it was to look at how we got to where we are and where that was going to take us. But during the course of my putting my presentation together, I really hit on a lot of the things that maybe was holding the sport back. And when I looked at all these notes and I thought it might be something good to share on Scuttlebutt, but I wanted to share it at a time that was a little bit more enlightening, because the COVID was starting to kick in now in March and April, and I kept holding it back, and I finally realized, that this wasn't going away anytime soon, and that within this presentation, I think there was a lot of good messages that might pertain to the situation that was developing. And that was how to ratchet the sport back a little bit and how to enjoy it a little bit more for its pure pleasure, to sail more locally, to sail with friends, to sail with family. And there was a lot of themes to this presentation that ended up being kind of, items of emphasis that were sort of occurring organically and out of need and out of a lack of alternatives. So during the course of the year, I would pull the presentation out every once in a while and find a paragraph or a section to reiterate, because I think these were all, there was opportunities this year. Certainly, as John said, there was a lot of people that entered the sport, but I think that we were all grasping at what we could do, and I think that there was a lot of simple pleasure that maybe we got back to a little bit. I sure hope so, because anything competitive has this opportunity to kill itself by effort and trying too hard and raising the bar and all this stuff, and it's really, really hard for that not to happen. And so I think that the conditions of this year allowed that bar to be held down in a good way, and allowed us just to get out on the water however we could get out and enjoy those opportunities. I know that was my personal experience too. We just had a lot of same household racing out here, and being able to race our Larion 28 with me and my wife was pretty cool. And probably certainly the highlight of this year in terms of my sailing.
How about you, Dave? What did you do new over there at Sailing World because of this pandemic?
We started the Around the Sailing World thing, which was primarily just to make sure I stay in touch with the regular contributors, and it turned out to be pretty fun every week. And I remember doing it from my bedroom, trying to, I took an old spinnaker from a Widgeon, which ironically enough, I inherited. Somebody dumped in my driveway right at the beginning of it. And just trying to keep ourselves busy, right, and find a purpose. And that was really what it was. And it's lost. I think we're on episode 23. We do it every week. Sometimes we skip some weeks based on people's schedules, but I've been amazed at the likes of like Ed Baird. And granted, Ed Baird is not able to go do all the Grand Prix stuff that he's done, but he checks in from his home every week. He loves chatting, and you realize that maybe some of the greats of the sport do just still love to talk about sailing, and it's been great. So it's fun to just see what happens spontaneously through a Zoom thing. And I chose not to do the live like this because I think it'd be sort of a natural conversation with whoever on the call. And Jonathan McKee always comes up with some fantastic, just intelligent nuggets. The guy is smarter than we all. Just beautiful. These are just great people, and it's nice to be able to talk every week and sort of put it out there for whoever wants to consume it and stuff. So that was really fun. But I mean, I think, like I said, Newport, we're in kind of a unique bubble that we've all been able to just sort of work around what we can. The governor's been good, and so there was still a ton of sailing that happened this summer, just by being smart and careful. And so I don't think we feel like we didn't lose too much. Like I think California definitely lost a bit of a summer. So that's about here. And then the frostbiting is all good, but Rhode Island apparently is now the most infected place in the world. And so, we're on the pause, and the frostbiting has now come to a stop, which, is always too bad. But I paid my $200 to go turnabout racing come January 1st. So hopefully that'll happen. But in the meantime, we've got the Dragon Flight. I got one, but that's been the fastest growing thing here. Like, just because people can stand on the dock 6 feet apart, do their remote control boats. And Brad Reed has been driving a big group down to South Newport. So the remote control racing has been exploding, just because it's something you can do to get to the water and, kill a couple hours and have fun and go home and get back to whatever you're doing.
That's great. Well, I'm going to ask the other guys about their personal sailing too, because we haven't heard from John yet. But there's a question from the audience that it seemed like a good time to put it in there. Sharp, you want to put up that question by Lisa Pline?
Lisa's asked a few questions, so if you could tell me.
The one about COVID-19's change to the sport?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll put it up there. Oh, wait a second. Why don't you go ahead and I'll get the question.
You know what? I can just ask Lisa's question. It's not that long. These guys are smart. How or if do you think COVID-19 will fundamentally change our sport? John, you want to go first there?
It's helping grow it right away. And I think it's one of the things we always talk about in California, particularly, there's so many marinas filled with sailboats that never go out. And I think people are reconnecting, and I think there's going to be a lot of legs to that. You wonder if this flurry of boat sales is going to be a blip and then everybody goes back to normal. But I think, to Craig's point too about appreciating simpler racing, or Dave racing on a turnabout. I think we really connected with the simple joys of sailing, on your own recreationally, or simpler boats. And I think that's going to have a lot of legs to it. I just think people are going to remember this time, and the fact that parents are sailing with their children and with their household unit is going to be something they're saying, maybe I'm not going to stick them in soccer and then take off on the boat by myself. I'm going to actually sail with my kids and my family. And I think that's something that could have a lot of legs to it too. And it'll be a very positive thing. So I see a lot of long-term positives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot. We've all learned that we can function fairly well in our lives through some adjustment. We're all working from home now. And I think with regard to education, a lot of that's gone online, and I think that's going to stay. I don't think we're all going to be flying places to get accredited. I think that what U.S. Sailing has had to do to evolve their education platforms, I think that's going to stay. And I think with regattas, there's a lot of virtual skippers meetings now. The skippers meeting to me was always that nice moment when you gathered and they said, just read your sailing instructions. And so I think that skippers meetings might be virtual now. And I think there's a lot of events that had, out of need, did a lot of stuff online because boats were docked in different places and you had to get your protest form up. And so I think that we're all learning how some of these tools are suitable and that we won't go backwards. And then to John's point, I think we all need to cross our fingers really tight to that what we've accomplished this year, the good of this year stays. That people have recognized that sailing with your family is important. That just going out for pleasure is important, and that not everything needs to be this super expensive, super invested outing. That we can just drive down the street to our local harbor and have a good time.
Dave, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that, but I will counter Craig. I think it's because this is sort of a unique moment in time that we've been living through for the year that when and if the vaccine helps, and we have some sort of normalcy, but as we've always said for as long as I've been alive, that the social side is half the sport and half the regatta. Is that it will come back and it has to come back. We do need to get back together again in these big group, hopefully, big raging parties and stuff, because it's still fun. And so, we've got to get through it.
Yeah.
We'll all get back together soon. And in the meantime,
I'm so over not being able to see people's face.
Yeah.
Their expression and the idea of getting off your boat and into the car at the end of the day has never been me. And I don't enjoy the sport on that level. So I'm with you. I'm desperate for that to return because that's why we do this.
Yeah.
For the social part.
There were a lot of teams up here through the spring, through the heart of it that were really good about, just organized group practices, but making sure everybody was tested and they had great summers. And so it's just about being careful. And I think that if you follow the rules and do what you can still do what you need to do or still want to do. And then at some point in time, we'll all be able to get together and have a big sailing party. And Key West will be back by 2023.
I hope you're prophetic on that one, Dave.
Yeah.
So
I'm ready to go back to Key West. I could use Key West right now like nobody can imagine it.
Yeah,
So
all these hours drinking alone are getting a little old, This drinking alone is getting really tired.
So I know we have viewers from all over the place tonight, but I would say the bulk of our viewership is usually, SpinSheet readers on the Chesapeake. So if you could, Dave already touched on this, but Craig, why don't you tell us what happened out in San Diego this year? Because I'm not quite sure people on the Chesapeake know just how limited your sailing was compared to what our sailing was.
We're handcuffed. San Diego. If you've never been to San Diego Bay is at the doorstep of the city. And actually a shout out to Harkin Durham here, because I recognized. What's that? Yeah, I recognized on March 17th that I was still shaking people's hands, and it was on, and so I put this on my wrist to remind me not to stick my hand out there. But it was on March 19th that the state of California just shut down, and we weren't allowed to do anything. And then San Diego took it to a whole nother level, where they shut down. Everything started shutting down, and the beaches was a big deal, because gatherings on the beaches and the parks. And so then I think in someone's mind was that, well, if our beaches are closed, our parks are closed, we can't allow all these sailboats to have a good time in this bay that's right at the doorstep of the city, with the county building sitting right there. And so they said no boating unless it's, for a while, I'm trying to think if it was no boating at all or if it was just no boating. I think it was no boating at all for a while. And then other than fishing, and then there was same household boating. And so when it turned to same household, that was huge. What was frustrating to me is that, I'm a rules guy. I like rules. But rules don't really mean anything unless they're enforced. And so what would happen is that there'd be, all these rules that no one was enforcing. And so, generally what follows that is, for lack of a better word, anarchy. And so it was kind of a bummer that way, but it at least governed the events. And so fortunately, there was some more nimble racing associations that started the same household racing, which was single-handed, double-handed, mostly. And then, that kind of got the ball rolling midsummer, but it really was until then that we really got out there. And as I said earlier, recognized how important that was and for how fortunate we were to have that, because we're all going a little, it's challenging mentally to, and to stay healthy. And so we all need these little outlets. And so we felt lucky to have that.
Yeah. How about you, Dave? Tell us about the scene in Newport this summer.
Yeah, like I said, it was mainly like the weeknight racing was fine. Everybody was kind of doing it. It was following the rules. And obviously the big events kind of kept pushing further and back. And luckily I was able to, I think the IC-37 stuff with Mel just happened later in the late summer, early fall. So it was really weird. Like, there was great high end, your classic, you felt like you were in a normal regatta for about 2 weeks, because you had the nationals and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden it ended, and that was it. And everybody pulled their boats out, and it's been pretty quiet ever since. But I think everybody, got pushed to the end of the summer, and then it was just a great couple of weeks, and then it went quiet, sadly.
Mm-hmm. How about out in San Francisco, John? What were things like for you?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, things here a little bit like Craig. It's interesting. Being in the same state, we have the same governor, but we have many different counties and health departments, and it really is interesting how they each kind of craft their own rules. And so, unlike San Diego, where they have one county that surrounds the whole bay, we have 7. And so literally you could sail from our county, Marin County, over to San Francisco, over to Berkeley, and over to Richmond, and be in 4 counties and have 4 different racing guidelines. And so it was very tricky to manage early on, and it took a long while to get things figured out. Also, when we were really told to shelter in place initially, it was no non-essential travel. And so people were finding loopholes. I got to go bail my boat, or I got to go make sure the engine runs. And so people are finding their own loopholes to the rules that were stated. But also, I think, the other thing crazy is the global headlines. You look at the U.S. caseload, and as much as we chafe at our governor and all these various rules have been put in place, this country's kind of been the worst. And you look at New Zealand and Australia, where we have someone who does some work with us in Australia, and life is normal. And talked to Alistair Murray, or emailed Alistair Murray the other day in Melbourne, and they're not wearing masks, they're shopping, they're eating out at restaurants, and they shut down really hard and somehow succeeded. Smaller country. But while we're chafing at the rules we've had to live under, and they have been tough, a lot of countries have had tougher rules and been more successful at keeping people alive and people uninfected. So I don't know, luckily I do have access to a boat, and so I can sail on my own, but it's been tough if you're a crew on a boat and you don't have your own boat. And we've had to cut off a lot of people from their fun this year, which is a bummer.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's the buzz. What's the buzz in the sailing world these days? What's going on, Craig? What have you been covering lately? We're very focused on the Chesapeake here. What's happening elsewhere in the world of sailing?
I'm always very appreciative of the round the world races, because it helps me make up for all the time I was not paying any attention in world geography. And so we've got the Vendée Globe, where they're in the Indian Ocean approaching Australia. Winds are getting light, fleet's condensing, got a whole wild range of boat types that are all seemingly competing together. We've got the Around the World record attempt, Jules Verne Trophy, that's going on. 100-foot trimaran, which just quit today after, I think, 16 days. They were actually in about the same body of water. Something happened to their rudder, and they were starting to slip off the record pace anyway. So they gave up the ghost. And then we've got the America's Cup. So we've got these things dangling that are filling the winter, which aren't normally there. I'm kind of wondering what would be happening right now if these things weren't there. Interestingly, I'm starting to see these regatta announcements for 2021, and it's kind of got me fired up. And I think we're all approaching 2021 like it's going to be this new decade. And I have this little bit of a fear that I remember during my years of living in a winter climate, that you had enough distractions as you led through the end of the year. You've got the holidays, it's starting to get cold outside, but you got this other stuff going on. And then you got through New Year's Eve and New Year's in January, and then you realize, crud, I've got, until April or May that I've got to suck it up. And I think we've all been looking forward to 2021 so desperately that I think we've all got to, we're all going to hit that January and go, crap, we've got a few more months, maybe more than a few more months before the vaccine gets out. And we start all feeling a little bit more comfortable in our space and in our world. And so I think there's a bit more patience ahead of us, though. There does seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel. But, hopefully by the time that, spring comes and the leaves come back and the docks go back in, that we'll be able to function fairly normally as a sport. And I think that's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm thinking anyone who's watching out there, I think go invest in some good hot chocolate and some Mount Gay rum. And there's all kinds of wonderful reading material that's going to be produced over the next few months to take us through spring, right? How about you, Dave? What's the buzz in your world there?
Yeah, kind of same. Like, so we just finished a deep dive into the America's Cup, which has got me super jazzed. I ponied up and paid the $175 the NBC Sports Gold package, and at least here for me, I've got a couple of kids that we try to put to bed by 9, and I'm looking forward to the prime time race watching, to sit back and have some Mount Gay and tonics and watch some cup racing, and I don't know, hopefully see the American Magic pull it off, but. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big task, but I think they're in a good place. I firmly believe that they've got what they need, and so we're hoping that it comes back here to Newport so that we can selfishly not have to travel and report on it from here like the good old days. And yeah, but they got their hands full. But otherwise here in Newport, it's just like the frostbite racing, like I said, it has been good, and up until now, till the pause. But I think as of January, things will get going again, and you know, I think we're lucky enough that again it goes back to this where people bought boats, small boats, little boats. Like you don't have to stop sailing just because the season ends, you know. And I think that I've seen enough here where just random boats just still sailing around the harbor, even though it's about to freeze. That, you know, it doesn't take that much to. You know, it's the same effort to put your boat down the boat ramp in the summer as in the wintertime. Put on a dry suit or put on and stay in the harbor, stay safe, put a life jacket on, whatever it takes. You can still go out and go play on the water. You know, it doesn't matter. Just because the season's over doesn't mean you stop sailing. And I think that's still for us is still a beautiful escape to just throw it in the water. And it's great here in Newport Harbor. You can still sail around the harbor. It's all winter sticks, not a single boat, but you can still go play. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Looks like we lost John Arndt there for a second. Hopefully he'll pop back. So tell us about your own personal sailing. Craig, you mentioned that you did some racing with your wife. Is that pleasure sailing on racing? You guys have an Alarian?
Yeah, well, when they did the same household stuff, they did some really simple courses inside the bay, non-spin. So that was super fun. But we bought this boat, I don't know what it is now, 4 years ago. And there's not a whole lot of cruising out here, out on the West Coast, but we've got Catalina Island, which is off LA. And it's kind of far from San Diego, not super far, but it's dead upwind. But when we bought this boat, we always joked how we were going to take it to Catalina Island. Anyone knows an Alarian 28 is it's an epic day sailor, huge cockpit. But sitting room downstairs. It's got real plumbing, but it's pretty limited. But you know, 2020 has made us do a lot of funny things, and we this year we finally pulled the trigger and we took it up to Catalina Island, which was, you know, a super cool adventure. It was, I don't know, glamping. You know, we found out that there's a lot of really good freeze-dried food, and you get the I forget what it's called, but you know, the quick water boiler. And I mean, when your biggest concern is where your ice cubes are going to come, you know, it was pretty neat. It was really good, and we had a super fun time. And this year was a little funky, because normally we don't do a ton of traveling, but this year we had planned well in advance a ton of traveling, starting with our 30th wedding anniversary at the beginning of all this. And so, you know, as anyone that tried to travel this year, you just had one thing canceled after another. So this was our thing to do. And it was cool that we finally fulfilled this kind of joke dream thing that we'd said we'd do, and we did it. And thank bejesus to the weather forecasting, because we saw a strong northwesterly blowing, and we jumped at it, and we were able to sail all the way home, and spinnaker up and 20 knots, and you know, got down here in time for happy hour, and so it was all good.
Sounds amazing.
Silver linings, wherever you find them.
Yeah. So John, I hear you have a new boat, new to you boat.
Yeah. No, I have had a Ranger 33 for 18 years, and it's the ultimate and simple fun, great day sailor, family overnighter, and you know, just a really great boat, which we've loved. But after 18 years, it's a 1974 boat. The Atomic 4 original finally was dying and needs replacement. And so we were going to take on that or do something else. And we bought a Sabre 38. So after all these years of preaching simplicity and Craig's ideas of simplicity, which I do love, I've got a much more complicated boat with refrigeration, inverters, all kinds of buttons, chart plotters, stuff that I'm going to have to learn how to do. And, I've mostly figured out the Ranger by untangling the yarns from the shrouds. That's the extent of our instrumentation on the Ranger. So now we're going to have to learn a whole bunch of, all these things, but it's very comfortable. And Dave, you said, in the winter, it's winter here in California. It dropped down to 60 the other day. And we still went sailing, even though it was all the way down to 60 degrees. And we were the boats down in Long Beach and actually had a great time in Southern California. Long Beach Shoreline Marina was beautiful, really nice municipal marina, and went to Alamitos Bay, Long Beach. It was gorgeous. So I'm sort of gone the other way as Craig. Well, I've loved day sailing. I can go out for an afternoon sail, but I've got now more of a cruiser in a, more difficult state to cruise in, but it'll be fun.
So how about you, Dave? How about your personal sailing this year?
Yeah, my I feel like I have too many boats at this point because, like I said, I have this 1971 built day Widgeon was the year I was born, so maybe it was born that day. Who knows? The guy laid the glass the day I was born, but it required a little bit of love, and I didn't put much money or time into it, but it was definitely a nice small thing to throw in the ramp and explore some of the North Narragansett Bay, which even though I've lived here my entire life, I've never kind of gone that part of the bay. So this one, you can pull the centerboard up and go in some cool anchorages. So I've used that a lot. I put through this shameless plug for this e-propulsion electric outboard we sent as a demo, which really kind of opens up all sorts of fun little adventures on this thing. But that was good. But we have this super old beater. It's an Albin Express 27 that has been with the magazine far longer than I have. That has no battery, no electronics, no head. It has zero, nothing. It leaves the mooring. It does go past Castle Hill, but it's a bay cruiser. But I did a ton of just nighttime sailing with my wife and a couple of her friends that are all teachers, and teaching the ladies how to sail and just being kind of a Captain Ron type thing all summer long. We had a great time and dragged the kids out there. So we did a ton of sailing, and then, like I said, the IC-37 thing came, so they gave a good dose of racing at the end. And now it's kind of back to the laser and the turnabouts for the winter, but and the remote controls. So nothing out of the ordinary. It feels like a normal year up here.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like you guys really got some joy out of sailing this year.
Yeah,
I mean, we always do, but for some reason this year was so different. We really appreciated it more, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I was doing this recently where I do it every year. I try to make a little book or a little something for the family, and kind of when you go back through your phone, if you really, I look back as of when the pandemic started, and you can really tell by the photos on your phone of like how bad it really was not. I mean, we all sort of had to figure out how to make it fun, but I felt like I sort of made the best of it that we could. And we did some cool different stuff. And if I were to do a book about the pandemic year, it was just as good as the year before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, guys, it's last call. Yeah. So I just want to say cheers and thank you. Thank you for being here with us. It's been such a pleasure catching up with you guys. I can't wait to do it again in person, but you know what? We'll wait until it's healthy to do so. And there's going to be a boat show next fall. We might be hugging each other wearing a mask, but we'll be there, right?
Yeah.
And we sure hope to see you at Happy Hour at the SpinSheet booth. And I hope I get to see you before then, but maybe online, maybe elsewhere. But anyway, I hope in the meantime you stay healthy and keep your spirits up over the winter. And I'll be checking out your publications. Just real quick before we hang up, if you could tell readers how they can reach you, subscribe to your publication, anything they need to know to connect with you. I'll start with you, Craig.
Well, if you Google Scuttlebutt, you'll find us. But otherwise, SailingScuttlebutt.com. The articles get posted daily on the website. There's a Monday through Friday email newsletter. There's a Friday summary newsletter. There's Twitter, Facebook. And so everything keeps pushing out all those channels, however you like to consume your information. But Scuttlebutt is, Scuttlebutt's the word.
How about you, John? How do we reach you? Tell us how we can stay in touch with Latitude 38.
Yeah, of course, same. Google knows all. You can ask Siri, but www.latitude38.com will get you to all the channels. And we are a free monthly magazine, free distribution up and down the coast. So you can read the magazine online. And we do have a 3-time-a-week newsletter, Facebook, Instagram. We're not too Twitterish. So that's not a channel for us, but anyway, we're latitude38.com is where you can find all the various nooks and crannies of life at Latitude and California sailors.
All right. How about Sailing World, Dave Reed?
Yeah, I'm with John. The Twitter thing, I'm sorry to Twitter, but like my thumbs are too fat, and I like complete sentences with proper punctuation, all that kind of stuff. So never embrace Twitter. So you won't find us there, but certainly Instagram, Facebook, and sailingworld.com. But and then the print magazine we always love, because it's nice to have something to sit and enjoy. Dave.reed at sailingworld.com. You can find me there anytime.
Yeah. And I go there often. I enjoy all of your publications, and I read your newsletters and everything, and I always look forward to it. So thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy. And Sharb, you're going to come back here and say bye to everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Molly and Chris and SpinSheet for organizing, getting us together, and we look forward to seeing you on the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys,
Green room.
I'm going to throw you in there right now, but
stick around for the after party, guys. Don't hang up.
Always a party in the green room. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to get rid of you, Molly. Bye. Thanks, folks. I just want to repeat what Molly said, and that is, covering sailing and in this day and age, it's kind of a tough gig. And all of these publications, they cover either your local sailing or global sailing. Subscribe, go to their Facebook pages, like them, sign up for the newsletters. I particularly like the Sailing Scuttlebutt Friday roundup. I think it's an awesome one. So do that. It's really cool. And the best thing you can actually do to support sailing and to support us as publications is to do those sorts of things, because we rely on our advertisers and they want to know they're reaching the people they want to reach. With that said, thank you very much to Mount Gay for sponsoring this. We really appreciate it. We will have another SpinSheet Happy Hour. We broadcast on both Facebook and YouTube now. So make sure you go to our YouTube channel and all the other YouTube channels and subscribe to those. And until then, we thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll see you again.